Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of our OmniStudio Starter Series. If you have not watched part 1, I'll leave a link in the description down below. Do check that video out so that you can understand this part better. Also, 90% of you have not subscribed to the channel, which is very discouraging. So please do subscribe if you want me to continue on YouTube. Thanks a lot. So let's dive into the video. Today, we are gonna get familiar with DataRaptors. So what exactly are DataRaptors? On your screen is the technical definition of DataRaptors, but to make things simpler to understand, you can think of it as an ETL tool. ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. What it means is you can use DataRaptors to read data, write data, as well as transform data from one form into another using DataRaptors in OmniStudio. Now to understand why do we need DataRaptors, we need to go back to our example from the first video. For any app to facilitate user interaction, we need to do the following actions in the given sequence. First, we need to read the data stored in our system. Second, we need to show the data that we have extracted to the user on the user interface. And third, or final step, is if user makes any changes to the shown data or generates any new data, we need to write it back to the system. In OmniStudio, Action 1 and Action 3 of reading and writing data into the system can be achieved with DataRaptors. Let's have a look at the types of DataRaptors available for use in OmniStudio. We have two DataRaptor extracts that can read data from Salesforce, one DataRaptor load that can write data into Salesforce, and last but not the least, we have DataRaptor transform. But where do we use transforms? For now, just remember that there are times when we need to restructure our data in order to make use of this data in other processes. That's when we need DataRaptor transform. Before moving on, let's pick up from where we left in the previous video and see how to log into our new Salesforce org. So after registering for your Salesforce dev org with OmniStudio package, you must have received an email like this from Salesforce on your registered email ID. This will contain a link to verify your account and set login password. Once you are done with setting your password, you can simply navigate to login.salesforce.com and put in your username and password to log in. Alright, let's get familiar with DataRaptor Designer before moving on to the demo. On the Extract tab, you specify the Salesforce objects that you want the DataRaptor to query and the filters that determine the data to be returned from the object. On the Formulas tab, you define formulas. Three types of DataRaptors, extract, transform, and load support formulas. When you define a formula, you map its output to the output JSON for extract and transforms and to Salesforce object fields for loads. On the Output tab, you map data from the extract step JSON to the output JSON. Please keep a note of the fact that the data format that we are going to deal with in OmniStudio is going to be JSON. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. On the preview, you can test the output of the DataRaptor. You provide input parameters as key value pairs and then click Execute. The result is displayed in the response section. Alright guys, it's time for the demo. So let's log into our Salesforce org. For that, we'll go to login.salesforce.com. And we will enter our username and password to log in. Once you are in, you're going to see an interface like this one. To go to the OmniStudio Designer, we need to click on App, and then we need to click on OmniStudio. This is the OmniStudio app. If you click on this arrow right here, you would be able to see all the different options that are available. You can also edit these options and can prioritize what you want to see as navigation items. For now, I'm canceling this. And let's click on DataRaptors. We are already on the same page. What you are watching right now on your screen is the existing DataRaptors. We have all type of DataRaptors created in this package. There are extract, load, turbo extract, as you can see on this particular screen. We also have transform DataRaptors in this list. You can click on any of them and take some outputs. You can learn something from the existing ones. But what we are going to do is we are simply going to proceed with our example. Let's open one of the existing DataRaptors and see how the extract DataRaptor is configured. So this right here is the DataRaptor designer, what you can see on your screen. We have 5 different tabs just below the DataRaptor informations, like interface type is extract, that is basically the type of DataRaptor. We have input type, that is gonna be JSON in our case, and most of the case it's gonna be JSON only. The output type of the data is also going to be JSON, and the required permissions are optional, and it is also not visible in this particular DataRaptor. And we have a short description about this particular DataRaptor that you can give while you're creating one. On the above, we have some action items like edit, quick match, clone, and export. Let's not go deep into these actions right now. Let's focus on the various tabs that are provided in the designer. So we have extract. That is basically if you add any extract step, it would ask you to select an object from the list given below. Once you select any of it, let's go with contact. Then you need to enter extract output path, which is nothing but the root node that is going to be sent as a data JSON format, in a data JSON format. The extract output path is nothing but the root node of the data JSON that this particular extract action is gonna generate. Next, we have filter. Now it is always recommended to apply some filtering criteria when you are querying for records, because if you don't, then it might hit the governor limits. There could be millions of records that you're trying to fetch at a time. So we need to specify a filtering criteria. Extract output path is, for most of the time, it is the same as the object that you are performing the extract on. And the filter criteria can be anything like, say for example, last name, like C or something. On the right hand side, you can see there is input JSON and we have extraction step JSON. which basically shows you the structure of the JSON that is gonna be created once you execute this particular data raptor extract. Second, we have the formulas tab, wherein you can add some formulas and then you can map it to the formula result path. Third, we have the output. Now this is very important. The extract tab as well as the output tabs are important in case of DataRaptor extract for a beginner. So here we simply so whatever data is being extracted from the object, we need to map it to a node inside our data JSON. That's what we do from this particular output tab. Now options tab is again optional at this point of time. And finally we have the preview tab where you can provide the filtering criteria that you have just mentioned in the extract tab, and if you execute, it's gonna show you the extracted data. So let's go ahead and create our own DataRaptor extract so that you get to understand it better. We click on new. We enter the DataRaptor interface name. This is basically the name of the DataRaptor that you're creating. So let's give it a name such as DataRaptor Demo 1. The interface type is gonna be extract. Input type and output type is going to be JSON. And in the description, I would simply write OmniStudio Starter Part 2 Demo. We hit on save. Next, we are going to add an extract step, and we are going to perform the extraction on account object, and the extract output path, that is the root node, is gonna be account. We'll apply the filter on name. And let's give it a key, like whatever key we specify, just match that key with the name, and if the name matches in any of the records, just fetch it. That's what we are going to specify here. In the formulas tab, we're going to leave it blank for now. In output, let's see what we want to extract from this particular match, if it hits at all. So definitely we are going to get the name. So let's do one thing. Let's get account as well. So let's map it to any arbitrary name, ACK ID, say for example. And let's get name, account name, and ACK name. The output JSON path you can specify on your own, whatever name you want to give, and simultaneously you can see that a current output JSON is being generated here, and the output is going to look, the structure of the JSON is going to look something like this. What else do we need? Let's extract the phone number as well. So we have account phone, and let's take it in a node named account phone. Alright, so this is how the structure would look like when extracted. In the options tab, we're not doing anything as such. So let's move to preview. And if you see on the left section of this particular designer, it says input parameters. And right now we have the input parameter option set to JSON data, but we want to give it as key value pairs and we want it to generate the JSON on its own. So let's click on edit as params and click on add new key value pair. The name of our key was key itself, so we are going to write key. And the value that we want to fetch is, let's see if we have any account named as Acme. So let's write Acme and let's hit execute. And we are getting a result. As you can see, the account name is being returned as Acme. That means we have an account named Acme, and we are also getting the phone number as well as the account ID in this particular format. Now let's try to find an account that does not exist. So say for example, if I write Acme1234, this should not return anything. We hit on execute and this time the JSON data is empty. So this proves that our logic is working and our extract action is working as expected. Let's move on to our second demo, that is how to load data. Now before loading data, loading is basically creating or updating a record in the Salesforce database. So let's go to accounts object and let's see what are the mandatory fields that we need while creating an account. If we click on new here, you would be able to see that only account name is needed for us to create an account in Salesforce. So let's make use of this information and let's go and create a DataRaptor load. So we go back to DataRaptors. We click on new. We give a name as we have given previously. The interface type, we're gonna select load this time. And just leave everything as it is and click on save. Now, if you see, there are a couple of changes that you can notice in this particular interface. First one is the interface type is load this time. In the previous example, it was extract, which is obvious. Now the input type and output type are different. The input type is the same as previous, that is the JSON data. And the output type in the previous example was JSON, but this time it is S object. Because we want the particular data that we provide to be stored in form of Salesforce objects. That's why the output type is S object in this example. Now, if you see, the first tab says extract in the DataRaptor demo 1, where we were creating DataRaptor extract, whereas in DataRaptor load, we have objects to mention, which basically says which is the Salesforce object that you want to put this data into. So we are going to create an account, so we need to select an object named account. in Objects tab. Now we are done with this tab. Let's move ahead to formulas, which we are not going to use. Let's move to fields. Now fields tab basically means that whatever JSON data you are bringing in, we need to map the particular nodes that are there in the JSON node to specific object fields in Salesforce objects. How this is going to work is we need to first create input JSON. Now this particular input JSON is gonna come from OmniStudio omniscripts that we are going to study in our upcoming videos. But for now, we need to give some data to this DataRaptor on which the DataRaptor can perform and create a new record in account object. So we are simply going to give something like this. We're going to create act name as a node in our JSON. And this is gonna be alright. So this is our data JSON that we are expecting, and this is our account object. So the input JSON path is gonna be account. Let's click on this plus sign. And as soon as you click on input JSON path, it's going to show all the possible nodes that it can find in the input JSON. Here we only have one, so it's going to show only one node to us. So we're going to select act name, and we need to map it to a field of account object. So we need to map it to the only mandatory field that we saw, and that is account name. So if you scroll down, you would be able to see name. This is it. We just needed to do this. And now if you go to options tab, we are not using in this case. We just go to preview and check if it's working or not. So we have given the input as JSON, where we have a node named as ACC name, and the value corresponding to this particular node is Salesforce V. As soon as we click this, we should get an ID created, which will take us to that particular created record. Let's hit execute and see. As you can see on the debug logs, it shows some data, and in the error logs, it is empty. And it shows an account ID that has been generated when we executed this particular load action. So let's go ahead and click on this particular link, and this should take us to the recently created account. There you are. We have an account with the name Salesforce V. So that's how you use a DataRaptor load. These videos are meant to be simple and introductory. So we have not covered a lot of things here, just to avoid information overload. If you want me to come up with these topics, do let me know in the comments down below.